Are you truly in control of your own life? Okay, because most people think that they're in control of their own life. They wake up, they go to work, they pay the bills, watch Netflix, rinse and repeat. Right? They assume that they're making choices, but the reality is their life is pre-designed for them. The routine that they follow, assigned to them. The goals that they chase, conditioned into them. The purpose that they seek is buried under layers of distractions, or even worse, they're helping someone else achieve and live their purpose. Right? The beliefs that they hold, they're installed without question. And see, the worst part is they don't even realize this is happening. Okay, if you don't consciously build your own life, society will do it for you. And trust me, society's version of your life does not include happiness, freedom, or purpose. And building your own life starts with having a vision of what it is that you want to create, and then building a daily routine that moves you towards that vision. Okay, plain and simple, you need a routine. And see, if you think that you don't, then you're either following a routine that's been assigned to you by society, or your routine is simply not having a routine at all. And that is going to get you nowhere. Okay, because without rules, there's no game. Without a game, there's no winning. Okay, a routine is the rule book for how you live your life. And the longer you stick to it, the better you get. And eventually, you don't even have to think about the rules. You just win at life. Okay, so it's time to stop playing the game society has designed for you and start playing your own game, a game that you can win. Okay, a powerful routine, no matter how simple, it stops you from feeling overwhelmed and it keeps you progressing to the goals that you've set. Okay, but most people, they aren't even chasing their own goals. They're pursuing dreams that were handed to them. Okay, they're helping someone else live their dream life and they're not living their own. So without a routine that you created, life, or should I say life, slowly spirals into chaos. Right? Overloaded with responsibilities, meaningless work, and a personality you don't even recognise. Right? Because routine creates order. The mind craves order. Right? When a routine is conditioned and programmed over time, then it becomes seamless. It becomes unconscious. You no longer have to force yourself to do the right things. You just do them. Okay, and if you're new here, I'm LJ, and this video isn't for people who are content with just coasting through life. If something feels off, like you're stuck on autopilot, then this video is for you. Because see, by the end of it, I'll give you a roadmap on how to break free from the mundane and take back control of your own life. Right, but before we talk about breaking free, we need to understand that how do we get trapped in the first place? And this starts way back from birth, right? The system starts shaping you from the moment you were born. You're given a name, a nationality, a set of beliefs of what's normal, what's not normal, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. Okay? You're placed in a school where you learn not just maths, English, science, but more importantly, obedience. Raise your hand to speak, stay in line, do what you're told. Right? They don't teach you how to think, they teach you how to comply. They don't teach you how to tune into your creative genius that we all have. They teach you how to remember what they deem to be important. Right? Then you graduate, and then what's next? Okay, you get a job. Not because you love it, because that's what you're supposed to do. Not because it aligns with your true nature and purpose, because it's what's been programmed into you. You work for 40 plus years, pay taxes, retire at, I don't even know what the retirement age now is. I think it's 65 for a woman, maybe 70 for a man. Okay, then you get to enjoy your life. But what by then, your body's, definitely not what it's like in your 20s, 30s, and 40s. Right? Your mind is definitely not as sharp as it was when you were younger. And the life that you could have lived is just, a whole bunch of what ifs and regrets. And the system does not give a shit. Because guess what? You served your purpose. You were a good worker. You were a good consumer. You were a good little cog in the machine. Right? So here's the question. Okay? What if you never challenged any of this? What if you just went along with it like most people do? That's how you end up living a life you never ever actually chose. That's how you live someone else's existence. Right? And for years, 40 years, I followed that script. And guess what it took me? It took me into a life dictated by addiction, destructive cycles, and living for the approval of other people. Right? Even when I got clean, I still found myself in different types of traps. Okay, because I still wasn't truly living aligned to who I wanted to be. I was functioning, right, but I definitely wasn't fulfilled. I definitely wasn't thriving. And nobody wants to wake up like me at 40 years old wondering where I was going to say F there, but where his time just went. Okay. And when I really, you know, observed what I was doing in my life and I looked at my daily routine, the actions and how I was living, I was still operating on autopilot. Most days I would wake up tired because I'd been up late night watching Netflix. I would at the time I owned my barber shop. Okay, and even though I was my own boss, I didn't feel like my own boss because I was still tied to the shop all the hours, and I felt like I was just wasting away. I would come home exhausted with no energy to play with the kids, to do anything. And then again, because of the way I felt, I would numb myself with social media, more Netflix, and I would have this recurring thing in my head. You know what? I'll do something different tomorrow, or I'll start on Monday, or I'll start at the first of the month. But you know what? It was just repeat, repeat, repeat. Okay, because most people don't choose a routine. It's just the one that is handed to them that they kind of flow into, right? And it's not until you really kind of assess what it is that you want and how you've been living your life. Because I knew that if I kept following this pattern, I would wake up at 50 feeling worse than I did at 40. And I felt really shit at 40. Okay, because another 10 years had passed and I was still just surviving. I still wasn't being true to who I was. I still wasn't going for what it is that I wanted. So I had to make a decision right there and then. Okay, I had to go and build my own life. Right, and I sold my business to do this. So what I'm talking about is I'm talking from past experience. My barbershop was my dream, but I knew it wasn't my future. So I had to give up all the safety and all the security that I had to go and do what I'm doing now, to chase my dream. And believe you me, it hasn't been plain sailing since I sold my shop. It's been very difficult, so many highs and lows, but I know that I'm always moving in a direction that my heart's telling me. Okay, because most people struggle to change their lives because they're trying to force actions that don't align with their identity. They think they need more motivation, more discipline, right? But the truth really is, when you are the person who naturally takes certain actions, you do not need willpower to take them. Think about it, right? Let's have an example. A musician, right? A musician doesn't need the discipline to pick up his guitar or play the drums because they're a musician. It's who they are, right? An athlete, he doesn't have to force himself to train because it's just part of their life. Now, these identities can be empowering or limiting. So if a person like myself, I used to be, identifies as someone who procrastinates, they will unconsciously act in ways that reinforce that identity. Or a person like I'm now, like I am now, who's an action taker, they will take action. And that's what every single day I make sure that I am taking action. Even when I was going through this difficult stage over the past year, I was still taking action. I wasn't sitting about doing nothing, wishing for a better future. Okay, I was reflecting on who I was internally. I was identifying who I wanted to be. Okay, because this is where your focus is so important. Your focus, where you place your focus determines your reality. And I've spoke about this in several videos now. If your mind is filled with distractions and low value bullshit and activities, your identity will reflect that chaos. Okay, and this is called psychic entropy, right? This is a new word that I never knew what it meant until about a year ago. Okay, and you can thank Dan Cow for that. Great guy, check his YouTube channel out. Right, it's a disorder in the mind that makes you feel lost, overwhelmed, and just stuck. Okay, but it's not set in stone. You can reverse this. And you reverse this by consciously shaping the identity of the person that you want to become. Okay, instead of saying, I need motivation to do this, right? Ask yourself, what kind of person naturally does this? Right now, I'm a YouTuber. So what would I naturally have to do to be a YouTuber? Record videos, edit, post, scheduling, all these things. Okay, so that's who I am, right? And or you ask yourself, how would that version of me think and act? Right. So for me, I'm thinking and acting like that because I'm always thinking ideas, I'm writing down notes, I'm learning, I'm always moving towards that version of me. I'm always thinking about it. I'm always acting, and I'm in line with who it is that I'm becoming. And it's not always easy because, yes, you still have doubts and you still have fears and you still have all these other things. But it's about, right, this is where my focus and the attention is going. And I'm taking action because the action will eventually erase the doubt. Okay. And when you keep taking action, you see the results, then these become beliefs. Because when your survival depends on your mental identity, you start taking actions automatically. And this isn't physical survival, it's psychological. Right? Animals survive through instincts, which is coded in their DNA. That's why a beaver will never build anything other than a dam on water. It won't go and build a dam or anything in the woods. It only builds it in water because it's in their DNA. And humans, we survive based on the ideas in our consciousness. So your identity, it's a web of ideas. And when that identity is threatened, right? And I've spoke about this plenty of times, it feels like it's going to die. It feels like it's a physical threat. And this is why change feels so uncomfortable. This is why change is difficult, because the identity doesn't want to die. And it thinks by you changing, like me becoming a YouTuber, it thinks it's going to die. And then it will put up all these blocks, or, mental block, you can't create content, nobody's going to watch, and all this other stuff. So no matter what it is that your dream is, your identity is going to try and stop you from getting it, because it thinks, but if you achieve that, then the identity is going to die, and it doesn't want that. So you have to keep taking action regardless to move beyond that. Okay, because it's not just about doing different things, it's about becoming someone new. Right? The beliefs that you absorbed as a child, the routines that you've followed for years, the stories that you've told yourself, for however long you've been alive. Okay? They all form your mental survival mechanism. And if you just allow it to run ravaged, then you'll just create more of what you've created. If you don't challenge it, then you'll stay trapped in a version that no longer serves you, and you'll stay miserable and unhappy. Right? So you need to ask yourself the question, who is it I need to become? And am I really willing to shape my identity to make this new reality, a physical reality? Okay, because it's about designing life on your terms. And I knew, back then, that I wanted a different life, because it just, the way I was living did not feel aligned. I knew that I had to live differently. So I knew that I had to totally, rewire my mind, and I had to, change basically everything about what I was doing on a daily basis. I had to create a daily routine to match the life that I actually wanted. So if you want to take control of your life, you have to take control of your time. You have to take control of your days. Right, and I'll give you an example of what my routine looks like now. Okay, now this has changed and adapted over the past 5 or 6 years. Right, I started with Robin Sharma's 5 a.m. Club. It's a 20-20-20 formula: 20 minutes exercise, 20 minutes meditation, and 20 minutes personal development, like reading or audio. Okay, and since then I've adapted it through different stages of my life. Different things have happened. Right, but right now my routine consists of, I wake up at 4:45 a.m. every single morning. The first thing I do is drink a big litre of water with lemon, Celtic salt, and apple cider vinegar. I have this prepped the night before, because in the morning, I'm not a morning person. I find it very difficult to get up and do things in the morning. So I have to have that prep. I drink that. Then I go straight into my office, or meditation altar, as I call it. I used to hit the gym first, but I've had to adapt that to support my wife's morning routine, because now she goes, the only time she can go for a walk is in the morning before work. So we have to make sure someone's at home for the kids. So my wife does that. I go and meditate. And then, depending on the time of day, what time the sun rises, right now it's coming up just about 6 o'clock. So I sit outside for 10 minutes, getting natural sunlight exposure. Okay. And this helps. This is, helps with vitamin D, but also helps with cardiac rhythm. It helps with a multitude of benefits. Right, then I go and sort the kids, I iron their clothes, I make breakfast, pack the lunches, and I take them to school. Okay, then I get back about 8:30, sometimes a little bit less, about 8:30. I have my Greek yogurt, my berries, simple, quick, effective. Right, then I go out, take my dog for a walk. Now, walking is so important. I try to get 10,000 steps, and I say that probably most days I don't get that. Some days I get a little bit more. Right, it just depends on what's going on through my day. So, and walking is low effort, high reward. Right. But I like to go in nature, walk in nature. It clears my mind, and I get a lot of creative inspiration when I'm walking, right? And And in fact, this is where I get most of my ideas, because when I'm walking, I'm not just walking mindlessly listening to music. It's something educational, podcasts, audiobooks, something that's going to inspire me to become better. I get a lot of my YouTube content ideas, and in the past, it's been a lot of my business ideas or just ideas in general I get when I'm out in nature walking. Okay, then when I get back, that's when I start my deep work. Okay, I get into my creative flow there. I get all my big high priority tasks done in the morning, because the morning time for me is when I function at my best. So right now, it's just all about YouTube, right? Filming, strategizing, posting, designing, everything's about YouTube. Okay, I just spend as much time needed in that morning to get what I need to get done until about 12 o'clock. That's when I have my chicken, eggs, avocado. I eat the same meals every single day because that removes decision fatigue. The only meal that's different is the family meal at night time. Okay, once I've done that, I do a house reset. I clean downstairs, do any laundry that needs done, just getting the house nice and clean so that when the family comes home, everything's all fresh and clean. Okay, saves any arguments with my wife, because my wife's been working. She comes a bit stressed out. I just want it nice and ready for the family to come home and it's clean. Okay, so then I'll do my gym session, 60 to 90 minutes, no music, podcast, just podcast, audiobooks, something educational within that workout. And depending on what I'm working out will depend on the length of the session. And if I've got time, then I'll do another walk and I'll grab a shower. Then I go and pick the kids up from school, bring them back. That's my second the working block, which I'll do is where I handle the kind of admin tasks, emails, client work, scheduling, anything that doesn't require too much thought or creativity. And I put this later in the day because, as I said, early mornings are when I have all my creative insight and motivation and spark. The kind of late afternoon is where I just get the kind of mundane tasks done. Then evening time, I coach my son's football team. Then my kids have got other groups, yoga, swimming. My daughter's got football as well, so take them to their clubs. Then we do homework, and then it's dinner time. We have dinner time. Then we just kind of chill out. Then at about 8:30, I get up to my bed, meditation time. Stick some meditation on, and I'm sleeping by 9 o'clock. From Monday to Friday, no TV, no Netflix. The only time I'll watch something is if my football team's playing an evening game, which right now they're on a good run in Europe, so I'm quite happy that we're getting there, but that'll be one night a week. I'll be up a little bit later. So now that's just my baseline routine right now. Okay, obviously that'll adapt depending on doctor's appointments, because I've got a lot of things with my children. As I've said, both my children are neurodiverse, so we've got lots of different appointments, so things have to adapt. But if you don't have a routine, right, if you're going into your day and you have no structure, then you're at the peril to whatever comes up. Because at least I know that if I've got my day, I've always got something to do. I'm always got something to plan. If I had nothing, then that's when I would get caught distracting, flicking through Facebook and YouTube, and because I've not got any plans. You have to have some type of structure in your day so that you can then, go about your day knowing that you've got something to do. Okay, because the truth is, your daily routine is either building your dream life or it's reinforcing your prison. So ask yourself truly, do you have structure in your day, or are you just building a stronger prison? Right? And by this point, most people might think, right, okay, right, I just need to build a new routine and make different choices. Right? But it's not that simple, because choice requires awareness. And most people don't even know that they're trapped. Right? They tell themselves, this is just how life is. I have to do this to survive. One day I'll change. But you know what? I said that for years, and then I was 40 and all my kind of younger, I couldn't believe it. Even now at 46, I still struggle to believe that I'm 46, and time's ticking so quick, because see, tomorrow it never comes, right? And the system just keeps, you comfortable enough to never question it, right? You might hate your job, but it pays the bills, right? You probably do want more for life, but distractions are just keeping you pacified, right? You dream of something bigger, right? But the fear, the doubt keeps you playing small. Okay, and listen, don't beat yourself up. I'm not saying this from fear, I'm saying this from love. And a lot of it's not anyone's fault. The system's designed that way. Okay, because a society filled with free thinkers, action takers, creators, that's a society that cannot be controlled. So this is why you get all this bullshit to distract you. It keeps you from truly stepping into your full potential. And how do you break free from this? Okay, there's one One way, one way. You need a plan. You have to have some type of plan. You have to have radical ownership of your time, your energy, and the direction you're taking in life. And so, how do you start with this, right? This is not a full how-to video, but do a life audit. What are you doing every day that you didn't consciously choose? What are you doing every day that you consciously choose? Right? Write it down. Your routine will tell you whether you're designing your life or you are existing in someone else's plan. And once you have an understanding of, you've audited your life, then, ask yourself, what is it that I would create if money was no issue? Something that is true to my heart, a true vision, a clear vision, not what you believe is possible, right? And the way I say to my clients is, well, if you had a magic wand and you could do anything for the rest of your life and money was no object, right? 9 times out of 10, that's what you're meant to do. Okay, so create a vision, not the one society gives you, right? Something that you truly want with your heart. This, and I cannot stress this enough, this has to be true to your heart, right? It really does. Okay, because most people say money. Money's not what they want. They say money because they think that that's going to give them, safety, security, and that, yes, that might do it. But money's not what they want. They want what money will bring them. Okay, so if money was no object, what would you do with your time? Okay, because if I gave you £8 million and I said you cannot spend it, you cannot give it to anyone, right? What would you do with money? Nothing. You can't do anything with it. So you want what money will bring you. So what is that thing that you could do every day and you would love to do it? That's what you should be chasing. Okay, then you control your attention. Right? What you focus on determines your reality. So are you feeding your mind growth and knowledge? Or are you wasting time on distractions like TikTok and fucking YouTube and, things that are going to keep you stagnant? Right? And there's 4 main pillars that I would say are probably the biggest building blocks. Okay, every single day you should be doing something for your mind, expanding your knowledge, questioning your beliefs, your assumptions, right? You should be doing something with the body, strengthen, energy, discipline. You should be doing something to create your vision, your business, creating value, looking to build some type of financial independence, right? And then your relationships, your deep connections with your family, building those real bonds. And I've spoke about it so many times. My addiction robbed me of the years of my children's youngest years, but I'm making up for that now. I am there for them for every single thing, every appointment, every game, every practice, every single thing, right? Because I know that I can never get this time back. Yeah, I could go out and work different jobs and make a lot more money, but that's not my vision. That's not true for me. What's true for me is what I'm doing right now. And I know that because I feel alive. I feel inspired. I feel aligned. I'm so excited about life every single day. Okay? So if you aren't improving in these areas, then what are you doing? Really be honest with yourself. You cannot lie to yourself, right? Because I promise you, time is passing regardless. So you're either going to wake up in 10 years and be happy with the choices you made, or you're going to wake up in 10 years with a bunch of regrets. Okay? Because here's the real truth. If you're not building your life, you're building someone else's. So what do you want that to be? Right? This is, and again, I say this because I hate like saying, oh, you should do this and you should do that. Right? But I just know how shitty my life was. And I know how great my life is now. And you know what? I'm still on the journey. I haven't arrived. Okay? So, you might have got to this point and you've watched this video, you might get inspired and then go back to your normal routine, right? If that's what you choose to do, then I'm sending you all the love. But if you're still here listening to this and there's a part of you knows that your life will not build itself, if you don't take control, someone else will. And one day, you will run out of time. You will run out of time. Okay, so ask yourself, who's in control of your life? You or the system, society? Okay, and this is why I created this channel, right? I am not some guru. I'm just a guy who went from the gutter to understanding who he is at his core level, and I'm living a life that I love. Right? I've overcome some massive obstacles in my life, and by all means, I should not even be here. Okay, but the wisdom that I have gained I know can help other people. And all I want people to do is recognize their true potential within them. Know that they are an amazing creative being. Know that they are loved. They belong. They are worthy. They are good enough. And the proof will be when you take the first step. Take that action and commit to your dream vision. And I promise you, if you keep focused on that vision, the only thing that can happen is that it materializes. You have to remain laser focused and take the next obvious step every single day, and it will become a reality. I promise you that. Okay? So, what's one thing you're going to change today? Drop it in the comments below, right? I want to hear what you're willing to do to take back control of your life. And if you're serious about transformation and you want to join me on this journey, please like the video, hit the subscribe button, and then go and build an amazing life. Stay real, stay true, stay authentic, and I love you guys. Have a great day.